Okay, it's late. It's going for 11 o'clock at night, my time, Pacific, and I think this will be my last video on the devastating vote that occurred this evening where 8 Senate Democrats decided to throw all of us under the bus in order to reopen the government. Basically everything that we experienced, all of the suffering, all of the federal employees experiencing hardship during the longest shutdown in American history, all of the people whose SNAP benefits were held back from them, all of the anxiety, all of the struggle. Senate Democrats threw that away. Every demand that we had, they caved on. And before you tell me it wasn't all Senate Democrats, cool. I'm going to say it ad nauseum. There were plenty of Senate Democrats who voted no, who were in favor of the action that happened tonight. It's just that 8 of them fell on the sword so that others could be like, I voted no, because they're up for re-election in 2026. They knew that this would be deeply unpopular with the American people because they told us that if they did not hold the line for the Affordable Care Act subsidies and the restoration of Medicaid, that 51,000 Americans would die every single year. They told us how serious the stakes were, and then they caved on every single demand anyway. And they want to buffer themselves from facing the consequences of their actions. So if your Democratic senator voted no tonight, then I would encourage you to call them tomorrow, call them every day and say, it is time for Chuck Schumer to resign. I want you on the record calling for his resignation, because either he orchestrated this or he is so woefully inept as a leader that he failed to whip his own party into voting as a bloc, and he let this happen. Either he wanted it to happen, or he is such a weak leader that he allowed this devastating vote to go forward, where they gave away everything. And I've had a ton of people in my YouTube comments tonight and my TikTok comments who are like, what do you think now about the fact that you and Heather Cox Richardson disagreed? And I'm not throwing any shade at Heather, but it's really frustrating to me because I should have trusted my gut. I was right the first time, and it gives me no comfort to say that. But I knew that Chuck coming in with a real low ball offer, that House Republicans immediately rejected, that now lowered, like there was no possibility we were going to get anything on that list. None of the demands were going to be accessible for any of us after Chuck made that offer. It was not 5D chess. It was not a genius move. Or, my husband said earlier, actually, he's like, oh, it was Chuck was doing 5D chess, but not on behalf of the American people, not on behalf of democracy. He was doing 5D chess on behalf of corporate interest. This played out wonderfully for all of the they got what they want. All the corporations, all the dark money, they got what they want. Democrats ensured we got none of our demands. The government is reopened. So you could say maybe Chuck and the Democrats were playing 5D chess on behalf of not only corporations, but also the Republicans. Like, this could not have turned out any better for the Republicans. It makes Democrats look very weak. The fact that Democrats caved across the board on everything and the government was reopened, it makes the Democrats look like they are responsible for the shutdown, like it's their fault, even though the shutdown was the fault of the Republicans and Donald Trump because they control the government. Now Democrats look responsible. They look incredibly weak because they are incredibly weak. And this will only serve to benefit the Republicans going into the midterms, because now the Democrats have pissed off all their own voters because they have betrayed all of us, and they look pathetic in the eyes of Republicans. The Republicans have done nothing to help Republican voters understand how devastating the Republicans' big, nasty, bloated budget bill that takes away Medicaid and affordable care subsidies actually is. And now this promise of a floor vote, or like it's a handshake that like maybe in December they'll do a floor vote where they don't have the votes to get a 1-year extension. You understand that Republicans don't want the Affordable Care Act to be extended. It's incredibly popular across the board with Republicans and Democrats. So many Americans use those subsidies and rely on them to get to purchase their health care in the marketplace. With the people, these are very popular, but Republicans have said from day one, Project 2025 and Donald Trump have said they want to get rid of Obamacare. They want to dismantle it completely. So no, they're not going to do an extension. I don't believe that that's going to happen. So Democrats have caved for literally nothing. We get nothing. And that's deeply, deeply disappointing. So you need to demand that your Democratic senator get on the record condemning Chuck Schumer's either ineptitude or conniving, whichever way it was. Chuck Schumer needs to step down. And the way that we know that our senators are actually working for us, the people, and are not in cahoots with all of this shit that went down tonight, is that they need to get on the record demanding that Chuck resign or that he be removed. I think it requires 10 or 12 senators to submit a letter demanding that they have a vote for new leadership. That's what it requires. So they better start drafting that letter so that they make it real clear to us. I mean, part of the problem here is that there's no trust. There's no trust. Democrats act in a way that is consistently disappointing and goes directly against our interests. And they're real sneaky about it. They make it sound like they're going to do one thing and then they vote a different way. They make it sound like they're going to hold the line and then they cave. Chuck Schumer has done this over and over. In fact, one of the things that's so frustrating for me about all of this is that the reason Chuck Schumer and the other Democrats folded in March and voted for the continuing resolution back in March is because they said, we're going to see how this unfolds and we're doing this so that we have leverage for September, so that we have leverage to make sure that we get what we need in September. They let us down back then because they said, no. We're going to take care of y'all come September. And then we thought like, okay, maybe because they're doing the shutdown, maybe they're going to follow through. Nope, they caved. So all of this holding out, all of these federal workers who were telling Democrats to hold the line, do not cave. We are content. We will hold out with y'all. We understand that we have to invest in the future of our democracy. We understand that we are holding the line for all of these American lives and everybody's healthcare, 20 million plus Americans' healthcare. All of that sacrifice by our federal workers was for naught because of the action that Democratic leadership took tonight. That's deeply frustrating, and we have a right to be outraged. We have a right to be despondent a little bit. I would encourage us to feel our feelings, be really mad. Take tonight. I spent 2 hours tonight crashing out on Blue Sky. I was pissed. Y'all should go see all my posts. I stand by everything I said. When I say crashing out, I was really mad, but I was not in such a state where I couldn't think rationally and I couldn't process what was going on. I was just really pissed and I just needed a place to be like, this is everything terrible about what happened. And I think everybody deserves to give themselves space to be able to do that. If you need to crash out on Blue Sky, there are lots of us that were doing it tonight and you would not be alone. There were gobs of us who will be in solidarity with you if you use that space to do the same. But maybe you just want to do it with a friend, right? My kid called me earlier. Maybe you just need to talk one-on-one with somebody. Get your feelings out. Feel all those feelings. This is a really devastating thing that has happened and it feels really scary now, right? Because it feels like, do we even have any allies? And we do. We really, really do. It's just not corporate Democrats in the Senate. They're not our friends. They are, Vichy France. They are capitulators, collaborators with fascism. They'll go down in history, right? Like this action tonight, Dean Shaheen and all of the other Democrats who voted in favor of this action tonight will go down on the wrong side of history. But we don't actually need politicians. For me, this really cemented it was never going to be politicians that were going to save us. I've been saying that all year long. It was always going to be us. We deserve representative democracy. We have the power and we loan that power to our representatives so they can govern on our behalf. The problem here is that those Senate Democrats were never governing on our behalf at all. They were taking our measure of power and they were using that to enrich themselves and to enrich corporations and to do the will of foreign governments. They were never using that power responsibly as they should. And tonight just highlighted that. And we have to remember that ultimately it is us, the people, that have the power, and we have tons of allies. We have hundreds of millions of allies because it's us. We're going to get this job done. We ultimately have so much more power than our elected officials. It's not just that the power of the people is greater than the Republicans in power, it's also greater than corporate Democrats. Do we have some actual allies amongst the Democrats in Congress? I think so. I think we do. I don't think every Democrat is on the wrong side of history here. I don't think every Democrat is happy about what happened. I think a lot of them are really, really pissed. I think a lot of them recognize how terrible this move was. But for me, and this is probably where I'll leave it for tonight because I'm exhausted. This is a good reminder that we have each other and that when we say who keeps us safe, we keep us safe. We also need to remember that we will save ourselves, that safety and that future, that's something that we're going to procure for ourselves together. It was never going to be Senate Democrats that were going to save us. We can't trust them at all. We can't trust them to do the right thing. And it should just solidify for us that we need to make sure that we bring about an America where we have true representation and that we have to organize together, us the people, because the power lies with us. we will make choices on behalf of our best interests. We look out for each other, and that's what we have to remember and use going forward.